Welcome, everybody, to the Hatfield Township Board of Commissioners meeting. This is our workshop meeting, and this is February 11th, 2026. So we'll call to order.
President Lestraco.
Here.
Vice President Partha.
Here.
Commissioner Andrus.
Here.
Commissioner DeLessio.
Here.
Commissioner Zipfel.
Here.
Okay, we are going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask Commissioner Zipfel if you would lead us, please.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. We are going to do an approval of our agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Partha, second by Commissioner DeLessio. Is there any discussion? No, seeing none. I'll call to question. If you, everybody say aye if you would like to approve.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We have citizens' comments. Citizens' comments are agenda items only. Any citizens' comments? Okay, please come up and state your name and your address at the mic.
Good evening all. I'm Jerry Vigiletti, 1217 Cabin Road. One of the agenda items tonight is development at 1295 Cabin Road. It's 5 acres behind my house and several of my neighbors which are here. I would just like to say this plan or some iteration of this plan has been through the engineers department, through the planning commission at least a couple of times each. And both times at both levels, they've rejected it, basically for the same reasons. So I just wanted to say to the commissioners that I hope you will follow the lead of the township engineer that you pay to come up with these decisions and the planning commission, which you appoint, to follow their lead and deny this proposal until it's reworked to work better for that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments?
I'm on Cowpath Road. My name is Eve White, and the whole property that's under development is behind me, but runs along the back of my property. And I want to say I agree of everything that we discussed before about flooding and encroachment and all of those things. So I also hope that everybody will deny this.
Thank you very much.
My name is Mike Gibble. I'm at 1872 Cindy Lane. I am downstream from Eva White. A lot of the water in the whole neighborhood in that strip of land goes through my backyard. It has I don't know what you call it, not retention, but a wastewater inlet there that when it does rain mildly or a lot, it can be 2 feet, 3 feet deep by 20, 30 feet wide, almost up to my house and to my neighbors also. I'm really fearful for my family, my house, my children that play in the yard when it does rain, and that this development, if according to the plans, I think it's going to make it worse rather than better. So same as everyone else, I would like to make sure that my family, my house, and my neighbors' properties are better than what they are. We already have problems, and I think this is going to make it worse.
Thank you so much. And we will take citizens' comments, is that correct, for the under committee reports? Okay. We will take citizens' comments under committee of reports for Planning and Zoning Committee. So thank you for your participation if you want to participate again. Go ahead.
Still have time for comments?
Please speak into the mic. We get your name and address. Thank you.
My name is Frank Stumpo, 2921 Denby Drive. Comment regarding the the proposed development at 2478 Cow Path. Myself and other neighbors are concerned about a number of things in the proposal. First, I'm curious as to why we have regulations if we're going to entertain 11 waivers from such. Additionally, I'm curious, has there been any downstream flood analysis or water discharge analysis done? Myself and other neighbors are concerned about the water discharge. I do note in the report from the engineers, they talk about the fact that it's the water discharges on township property and they can't support that. And I'm wondering if the township doesn't want that water on their property, why do we want it on our neighbors? And I would respectfully request that you deny these proposals. Thank you.
Thank you for your participation. Anybody else? Okay. All right, we're going to go into consent items. So we have a motion to enter into the record VMSC EMS monthly report for January, the North Penn Water Authority meeting minutes, December 16th, 2025, the HTMA meeting minutes from December 2nd, 2025, the HTMA monthly budget report, December 2025, and then the police report from January. Do I have a motion to put these consent items into our record?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Ziffel, past President
Second.
Ziffel, and second by Commissioner Partha. Any discussion? Okay. If you would like to make a motion, if you would like to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that has passed. Okay, for our special item, we have a really awesome presentation coming from our HTMA Executive Director, Pete Dorney. We're really excited to have you tonight so we can hear what is happening. Thanks so much, Pete.
Welcome to a new year. I believe you all have a copy of our proposed budget, and I think you probably got the little synopsis of the budget. If you don't mind, I'll read it for the people in the audience so they know what's going on. And just so that everybody knows, we are proposing a 5% increase in sewer rates. So the municipal authority realizes that nobody wants a sewer rate increase, particularly in light of the cost increases residents are facing in other areas. HTMA is also facing similar increases, and in order to maintain its same level of service, repairs of existing equipment, the purchase of new equipment and technology, and cost increases for labor, chemicals, electric, natural gas, ash disposal, as well as capital projects estimated at over $15 million over the next 4 years, it must continue to stay ahead of these increases. The cost of electric has increased for us by approximately $90,000 in 2026. The cost of natural gas will increase by approximately $40,000. The cost of ash disposal has increased by approximately $34,000. As for ash disposal, for those of you who don't know, we have an incinerator at the facility for our sludge disposal. Labor with 33 employees is HTMA's largest single operational expense and will increase by approximately $125,000. Our insurance will increase by approximately $80,000. So if you add them all up, I'm not going to do it real well in my head, our costs this year will increase by at least $380,000. It's probably the biggest year cost increases we've ever seen. When planning this year's budget, the board first considered looking at the need for more than a 5% increase, since the projects we are facing will significantly deplete our construction reserve over the next several years. However, HTMA has recently been able to obtain a few grants to offset some of our capital projects, and we continue to apply for more. As such, I would like to let everyone know how appreciative we have been of Senator Collette and Representative Malagari in their help to secure these grants. And in the process, I'm sure they've learned a lot about wastewater treatment, probably more than they wanted to. Many wastewater treatment facilities, and I say facilities because it's not just the treatment plant, but it's also the collection system. Collection system is all the pipes throughout the plant, all throughout the township, and we have over 100 miles of them. We've reached a critical junction in moving forward. In large part constructed after the 1972 Clean Water Act, plants are reaching or have reached 40 or 50 years old. Equipment needs replacing as well as upgrading to meet new challenges coming, such as, for example, requirements regarding PFAS, which you've probably all heard of, and which we are going to be could be responsible to remove from the wastewater, as well as stricter rules on copper limits for our effluent. Much of the copper is known to come from copper pipes, which we can't control, but will still need to remove with very expensive treatment. Many of you have seen how sewer rates at other nearby plants have risen, and in particular, privately purchased and owned plants now charging over $1,000 per year. We are still one of, if not the least expensive in our immediate area, and hope to continue to be, but infrastructure is expensive, and 50 years is the typical limit for most treatment plants before requiring massive infrastructure replacement. Our first plant, big plant, was built in '72. We still operate some of that. Our next plant was built in '85, so that alone is 41 years old, so we're between the 41 and 50-year-old range for plants. We hope to avoid the massive need of increases, but without substantial grants moving forward, sewer rates increase will need to continue. This increase will raise the individual residential unit by $21.29 per year, or $1.77 per month. Commercial and industrial users will also face the same 5% increase. That's my presentation.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Yep,
Pete, I
thank
got a
you.
few questions.
Sure.
All right, just because I think that last number you gave us was one of the ones I was interested in. What's the average increase for a homeowner here in Hatfield at a 5% increase? You said it was roughly $21 a year?
Yes.
Okay.
But that number that I gave was that's the base rate increase,
Okay.
$21.29 a year.
Okay. And then, you're probably sick of hearing me ask this year after year. Is some of this related to unfunded mandates either from the feds or the state?
This year, it is not related much to unfunded mandates. It's related to those items that I mentioned, electric cost,
Labor.
labor. Now, we are getting a new permit by 2029. There will be the unfunded mandates come in when we get our new permit, because that's when we expect to see, and a little bit ahead of time maybe, new controls for PFAS and for the copper. And if we don't get any money from anybody for that, that would be the unfunded mandate.
Yeah, you kind of read my mind, because I was wondering if you didn't have them now, I was going to ask you, do you see them coming down the
Yeah,
road? And
absolutely.
It sounds like 2029 is when it's
Absolutely.
going to land.
Absolutely.
Okay. And grants, you've gotten a couple of grants just in
We've-
2025?
Yeah, we've gotten, so if you want a list, we've gotten, well, we had the $850,000 grant for the administration building expansion 3 years ago.
Right.
This year, we've gotten a $250,000 grant towards the electric grid project. The electric grid project is going to cost us around $12 million. We've got another $41,000 grant through Senator Fetterman's office for part of our flood wall system that we have to put in. We got a $400,000 grant from PA Small Streams for towards $471,000 worth of new pumps, and we got a $225,000 grant towards the purchase of 6 new aeration blowers. They cost $800,000. We got $225,000, so that helps a little bit.
Not bad for a little Hatfield.
Not bad, and like I said, very much appreciate Senator Collette and Representative Malagari's help in supporting all that.
All right, that's good stuff. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions?
Pete,
Carla?
hi.
Hi.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
Can you remind me, please, because I'm new, there was an increase last year of about 5%, is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
But prior to that, was there a period where there were no increases?
Yes.
And-
Probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
So we went about 4 or 5 years where we were flat, and then only last year did we
No,
start?
I think the year before was a 4%. The year before last year was a 4%, I believe.
Do you anticipate, given your statement here about our collection systems being 40 to 50 years old, so, probably coming to their normal life expectancy, that this type of annual increase is going to be necessary to stay ahead of just maintaining our current infrastructure?
Truthfully, I think so. I think with the age of the equipment, unless we start getting some infrastructure grants from federal government, state government, we are always being pressured to fix this stuff by DEP, and so we should. We've done a good job over the last 10 years, but it keeps getting older.
Understood. Can I ask you, within your budget, is there a allotment of money for just routine maintenance of any sewage pipes that are throughout the community? So not at the plant, but that may wear and tear in front of residents' houses or whatnot, where you might have to come out and do some type of repair job there?
Yes, we always have a line item budget for sewer repairs. And we also usually have a line item in what we call sewer projects that are more than just repairs, but we also have a sewer maintenance line item also.
So there is something in proactively planning where there are areas where how the infrastructure there might be starting to decay and crumble, and so you have a plan going forward and budget money allotted within this budget to address projects like that as they come up.
Correct. And we also have a five-man road crew that you probably see their trucks out every once in a while. That's their not sole job. Sometimes they work at the plant. But their function is to go out and televise and clean different areas of the townships every year. And they try to work that around what they know the township's going to be paving. But if they know there's other issues, that they will go out there. For instance, our board just last night at our meeting approved rehabilitating 6 manholes out at the intersection of Coffle Road and 40-foot Road that are very old and very bad shape. $43,000 for those 6 manholes. So we spend money on rehabilitation in the township too.
That was my last question. Thank you. We are paving Stewart Road, which is my community. I have seen your gentlemen out doing their job. I thank you for the work they were done. They were professional and respectful of their neighborhood. So thank you, and
You're welcome.
thank your crew.
I'll let them know.
Pete, the one last question. So I think last year we are discussing, like every year for the sewers line, we are replacing the pipes, right? The sewers pipe. I think if I remember, it was about 5 miles each year, right? We have about 100 miles of sewers line around in Hatfield.
I don't know that we get to do 5 miles each year. It depends on the year. I think what I brought up when I said the 5 mile is that DEP once had a thought, I'll say it's a thought, that everybody could replace 5 miles of sewer every year.
Okay.
I think it was 5% of their sewers every year, but in our case, it would be 5 miles with 100 miles of sewer, which was not very feasible. But we could televise 5 miles, or we could televise more, or we could televise a little bit less.
Okay, yeah. And we are not doing this with this budget or anything. This is a separate budget for replacing all this, the pipes, right?
This includes everything we do for the collection system also.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
No, other than Pete, if anyone doesn't know what they do, look them up. These guys are one of the groups of unsung heroes in Hatfield. Very difficult job, Pete. Thanks to you and your entire staff.
Thank you.
Yep. I was also going to say our Hatfield Township committee that works on the HTMA, our committee, they're doing a fabulous job. So thank you for keeping them in line and keeping them moving each month. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
And,
Thank you so much.
Just
You
to
want
add,
another one?
no, just to add one thing, I think,
Yep.
so the price, whatever the increasing, it is still in lower in the area, right?
I'm sorry?
The price, the yearly price is $21.29. We are increasing, that is still in lower in the area. And next to the neighborhood township and everything.
That's for all the residential,
Yeah,
base residential rates for all the township residents.
yes.
But it's comparable with other
Oh,
townships as
well,
far
if-
as the
if
rate
you-
that we're
if-
charging?
If you have the budget in front of you, on page 2, I have a list of some of the other area rates. For instance, this will bring our rate to 447. You can see Percy's rate is 660, Horsham's 644, Montgomery's is 536, Franconia is 720. So that's list there is the comparable ones around it, and that doesn't include, if you look down below, the average rates for the private companies, which are growing in popularity, let's say, in Pennsylvania. Those two companies there, the average rates are $999 and $1,277 a year for sewer. So I'm not saying we're a bargain, but
They're comparable.
yeah, we're in comparison to those others, we're the lowest.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Okay. And Aaron, when would we be voting on that?
Great question, President Lestracco. So the HTMA budget operates on a April 1
Okay.
fiscal year, which is odd, but it is April 1. So probably at the end of this month, I'll have a resolution in front of the board that approves the budget that goes back to HTMA. So in 2 weeks, we can formally vote on that from the commissioner standpoint. Again, HTMA is the one that develops the budget, implements the budget, but since it is considered a component unit to the township, the commissioners have to approve it on an annual basis. So we'll have an action item at the next meeting.
Okay, perfect. We will be here. Okay, we're going to do our committee reports. Planning and Zoning Committee, Commissioner DeLassio.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have 2 items coming before the board today for discussion. As folks heard, there were a couple public comments. The first is the Cabin Road development discussion. There are a number of waivers associated with this proposal, and as a resident had mentioned, this had come to the Planning Commission, and they recommended a decline in approval. So going to turn over to Scott if there's anything else you want to tee up before the applicant comes before us and explains their proposal.
Thank you, Commissioner DeLassio. 1295 Cabin Road by the Butte Capital Group. It's RA1 Residential Zoning District. The parcel is 5.29 acres. This proposal has 6 total lots, one of those being existing, and they have requested 11 waivers. And I can give you the timeline of how the application was submitted on February 5th, June 17th, first presentation by the applicant. Due to the residents' feedback, we held a town hall meeting with those concerned individuals. Plans were revised. Obviously, our consultants have been going back and forth issuing those letters in response. November 18th, came back to present again, and that motion for denial was moved on at the Planning Commission. Some of the waivers, 26-foot wide cul-de-sac cartway, 35 is the required minimum. Permit to not widen improvements, Cabin Road, 5 feet minimum sidewalks, 6 feet is the required by our Saldo ordinance. the stormwater management facility without establishment of drainage release or easement, and the relocation of stormwater discharge onto adjacent property without approval of that property owner. I'll turn it over to Adam Prince and Nate Fox here to represent the applicant.
Good evening. Nate Fox from Obermeyer on behalf of the applicant. Want to point out a couple things regarding this property. It is about a 5.5-foot property and a 5.5 acre property in an area that has 20,000 square foot lot as a minimum zoning. As you can see from the plan, the lot itself is effectively a flag lot. The waiver initially for the 26-foot cartway, if you want sidewalks there, you really can't do the full width cartway, and part of that is a traffic calming measure. But just to kind of frame what we're speaking about, 6 lots, all of which are well over the 20,000 square foot minimum size. I think they believe they go up to about 38,000 square feet is the largest lot. So some of these lots are actually double what the minimum size is. So this isn't an exercise in trying to shoehorn extreme density or more density than is permitted by the ordinance. As far as the waivers, they're all site-specific, particularly those with regard to stormwater. Currently, there is no stormwater facility on there, so it's a meadow condition where things would be, the correct term would be sheet flowing just off the property. So the benefit of having any kind of development on this property is there will be a stormwater management facility. So the stormwater management facility does reduce stormwater being discharged or leaving this property in every measurable fashion. I'll have Vince, our project engineer, speak to that. The biggest issue with the stormwater waivers is your ordinance requires effectively that an adjacent or downstream property owner grant a sign-off or a release or an approval. Some attempts were made by Mr. Fioravanti's office to reach out. We're told in no uncertain terms were any release or sign-off going to be given. So that's we're somewhat in an awkward position that we understand that the neighbors, they don't want to see development. We don't believe, or development of this property. They have concerns. We believe we can answer those concerns. But you know, I think there is actually a benefit, particularly to stormwater, as it will actually be reduced both in quantity, rate, and every measurable impact. So that's a general overview. And Vince, would you mind coming up and giving unless there are any general questions, and the point being we're asking for waivers. We acknowledge we need them for even a conditional approval, but I'll ask Vince to explain on an engineering and technical basis what we're speaking about.
Good evening, board members. Vince Fioravanti here. I'd like to go through this briefly. I think the best way for us to proceed is for me to give an overall brief presentation of the project to you, then review the stormwater controls, and then go through the 11 waivers we're requesting. That way, when we get to the storm-related waivers, you'll understand our position. I would ask the board to keep an open mind as we go through this. We think it's going to be a great project. I know that doing this for decades, that neighbors frequently don't like anything developed in their yards. But I think if we keep an open mind, you'll see that this is a great project, and I think it'll be a benefit to the community. First, from an overall perspective, we have a 6-lot residential subdivision proposed on a 5.5 acre site, zoned RA1, requiring 20,000 square feet per lot. The proposed development matches perfectly with the surrounding area. The subdivision is zoning compliant. The lots are larger than the surrounding lots for the most part. The site will be landscaped according to a professionally designed plan by a landscape architect, and it will be beautiful. When you look at the surrounding area, it's single-family dwellings. When you look at this proposed development, also single-family dwellings, completely harmonious with the area. Second, there will absolutely be no adverse impacts to the surrounding area. No visual impact. The site will be heavily buffered by large trees. One of the waivers was to have slightly larger trees than more smaller trees, a better canopy, more future growth for the trees, again, prepared by a professional landscape architect. No visual impact at all to the surrounding community, heavily buffered by large trees. No traffic impact. The site will generate a low volume of trips. The site is projected to generate 6 new peak weekday afternoon trips. 6 trips. No drainage impacts. Actually, the site is perfect for stormwater control. It drains away from all surrounding residences, and there is a natural drainage swale to the north that drains this area from left to right on the plan to the branch of the Neshaminy Creek, west branch of the Neshaminy Creek. So the site's actually perfect for stormwater control. Most of the people in here are uphill of the project. They're not going to have any drainage impacts. Anyone who's downstream, there might be 1 or 2, maybe Eva and the guy at the road crossing. The stormwater flow to those people will be decreased. The site doesn't drain directly to any residences whatsoever. We can't see it on this exhibit. We'll get into it in a little bit. No drainage impacts whatsoever to anyone. Peak flows are reduced for all storm events as required. Our discharge to this drainage feature, this swale that's on the top of the screen, is reduced for the 100-year storm from 11.5 cubic feet per second to 3.02 cubic feet per second, much less. Stormwater basin is designed to reduce and release runoff in a manner that is completely safe, reduce peak rates, and a velocity that will not cause erosion of any kind. There'll be no impacts downstream whatsoever. There's no need for an off-site easement or any type of maintenance. Just a couple of storm details, and then we'll go through some exhibits. Again, storm details to support our storm-related requests. No easement or maintenance is necessary. Peak flows will be reduced. Flows will be released 60 feet from the property line at completely safe and non-erosive velocities. During the 100-year storm, it will be 1 inch deep, and it will be flowing at a velocity of 1 foot per second, which is way below the accepted minimum of 3 feet per second from many DEP sources. So in other words, if you're looking up at DEP and you're doing an off-site drainage analysis, they typically require that the discharge be less than 3 feet per second in velocity so that it will be safe and will have no erosion, no erosive properties to it. If you're 3 feet per second or less, you're not going to cause any erosion, and the discharge is safe. We're 1 foot per second. We're way below. And we're 1 inch deep, 100-year storm. There is no need for maintenance. There's no need for an easement. There will be no impact. The only impact we're going to have, again, is reducing the stormwater flows, and we're going to create a beautiful neighborhood that matches the surrounding community. So I just want everyone to keep an open mind. Landowners also have rights, and to say that a downstream neighbor can give you a thumbs up or thumbs down if they like it or they don't, just doesn't make sense. So we'll get to that in a minute. So again, looking at this exhibit, you can see what I was talking about, the landscaping, the lot size.
Stay to the mic.
Maybe I can take it out. So you can see what, as I'm talking about the landscaping, the lot size, the conformity with the surrounding area and the zoning. If I could have the next exhibit. One thing we talked about was drainage impacts. When you look at there's a swale that we called, runs right down here, comes in a couple directions, goes underneath the road here, Cindy Lane. There's a box and a culvert, and it goes underneath Cindy Lane to the west branch of the Neshaminy Creek. We talked about the fact that this site is perfect for stormwater control. It drains away from all the dwellings all the way around the property. It's one of the best situations you can have when you're controlling stormwater. Everyone's uphill of you. Anyone that's downhill, which would be maybe one person here, their flow is going to be reduced from 11.49 cubic feet per second to 3. So we're reducing the flows in the 100-year storm. It's all positive. There really is no impact here. One thing to point out also is the total area here is 27 acres that drains to here. Most of the dwellings around here have no stormwater control at all. We're even going to be controlling this off-site area here. So all the stormwater from the neighbors that are uphill of us, we're controlling their stormwater and reducing it. So all we're doing here is actually controlling stormwater, releasing it safely, and improving the situation. If I could have the next exhibit.
The only way that happens is if there's...
Have to be on the mic.
Thank you. So the only way stormwater improves in this area is if there's a development that has a stormwater management facility on this property, correct?
Yes. And if I could have the next exhibit, okay. Again, I'm just going through some of the comments, just so we all understand the situations. There was a comment in the township engineer's letter about off-site topography and conditions were changing, and as we got additional submittals, that there was additional conditions and it was different, and there were some concerns. I want to point out with this slide that nothing's different. The bottom one here is PASDA contours that are typically used for off-site drainage analysis. Sometimes when you're doing a development, you might evaluate 35 acres that are draining past your site. You're not going to survey those. You use published geographic contours that are essentially accurate enough for planning purposes, which is what we used originally. We didn't survey all of this because I still don't think it was necessary. These are accurate enough for analysis. You can see the swale we talked about. Everybody who's familiar with the area, they know that the swale runs from west to east and captures all the water in this area and takes it underneath Cindy Lane, right about here. We're capturing the water from our area, releasing it in our basin, and this is from our original submittal. And when we talked about sheet flow, you can see that these contours are essentially parallel, and these contours make a loop like this. This is the swale, or the stream, the swale, there's a pond there. So you can see that the flow, if you look at this in 3D, we're used to looking at it, this is what we were calling the swale. Here the contours are parallel, so from here to here and here to here, this is sheet flow. And we have sheet flow to a swale. And then we were asked to provide more information because there was a concern, which is fine. So we went out, we actually surveyed it and, surveyed 400 points up here to get the real topography. So if you look at this one was the original, and here's the supplemental one with the survey, it's not showing anything different or conflicting, and there's no concerns. It shows exactly the same thing. There's the swale, and here's the detailed survey of the swale as it goes to the road. There's the sheet flow with the parallel contours, and there's the swale, same exact thing that we had the first time, just more detail. It's a little different because we put the effort in to survey it, just to comply with everything and try to make everyone comfortable with it. One more exhibit, the next one. Here's another exhibit where I just want to show a couple of things to just hammer home our points on the stormwater. Upper left up here. I don't know if you can read that, but these are the maximum permissible velocities as set forth in the Pennsylvania Erosion Control Manual and BMP Manual. So when you're designing swales and stormwater systems, depending on the linings that you have, they give maximum permissible velocities so that you protect from erosion. When you look at this table, these are the maximums, 5, 4, 5, depending on what kind of soils that you have, all the way down to 3. And right here, it says a velocity of 3 shall be the maximum if you have poor soils or you can't establish good vegetation. So 3 is the absolute safest. If you're 3 and you have poor soils, you're still good. 3 is their absolute most protective velocity. And then look down here, lower left. Our discharge is right here from the basin. And right about in the middle, there's about 34 foot wide. Here's the end wall. It comes out right about there, right? 60 feet from the property line, which was a result of us working with the township engineer. But back to the 3 feet per second. This is the swale that was cut across here. This is 3 feet. This is 3 cubic feet per second, 100-year storm, 34 feet wide, 1% slope. It's 1 inch deep, and it's 1 feet per second. That's what's coming out of here during the 100-year storm. So it's very slow. It's 1 inch deep, and it's 3 cubic feet per second instead of 11. So we're completely protected. Here's the sheet flow that we're coming down. And this is all vegetated and wooded and everything else, by the way, which also helps for soil stability. It's not going over just bare earth. And even if it was, DEP says we're still safe. We're at 1 feet per second. It's wooded, it's stable, and there's really going to be no impact whatsoever, other than reducing the flow that people are concerned about. So I want to bring that up. We talked about our previous discharge was closer to the property line. The engineer said that if we can pull it back 50 feet from the property line here, then it would give the discharge the opportunity to run through natural channels and assume its natural state before it went to the other property. So we did redesign, we pulled it back to here. It's now about 60 feet from the property line. You'll see in this area, well, you probably can't see it, but I'm telling you that in this area, there's no proposed contours. For 60 feet, this water will run through and over existing elevations. By the time this thin sheet of water reaches the property line, it'll have traveled over 60 feet of natural terrain. It will definitely be in its natural state, reduced in flow, low velocity, no need for an easement here. This is wooded area and no need for maintenance. What will we need an easement for? And what will we need to maintain when we're reducing the flow and it's at a safe velocity? There's just absolutely no need for any encumbrance on the neighbor's property. One more thing. Sections of the code. We talked about some of the waivers for stormwater. And we talked about how having a downstream adjoiner had given them the power to give you thumbs up or thumbs down, whether they like the development or not, doesn't make sense. And I would say it's impossible. That's an impossible requirement. I did have a conversation with Eva. I think she told me she wasn't going to give me the easement. But
You did not speak with me.
I thought I spoke with you on the phone.
Let's not do that, please.
Anyway.
Go ahead.
So
Vince.
it's just the ordinance requirement is impossible. Not only is it impossible, it's unnecessary, and it's conflicting with other provisions in the ordinance. For example, here, section 242-15A, stormwater flows onto adjacent property shall neither be created, increased, decreased, relocated, or otherwise altered without written notification of the property and their approval. So you can't increase or decrease them. But then when you go to the other ordinance section here, where the peak flows for the district, it requires you to decrease the flow of the 2-year storm to the 1. So one ordinance section says you're not allowed to decrease it. The other ordinance for stormwater says you must decrease it. So I say this one with the G, where you have to, it's 242-12G. Stormwater flows cannot be created, increased, decreased, relocated, or altered, is unnecessary and impossible and conflicting. So again, that's part of our waiver. I think with that, we can go through the waivers and then you'll understand our position. I do believe it will be a great project and absolutely believe there's no impact to any of the adjoiners.
When going through the waivers quickly, can you highlight how they're site-specific and driven by the conditions of the property?
Yes. Thank you. I'm going to go through the township engineer's letter where the waivers are mentioned in the comments. Waiver 1 is for cartway width, and it's comment 5, I believe, 5A. A waiver to allow a reduced cartway width of 26 feet where cul-de-sac is required to have 34 feet. And I believe this was supported. This is a waiver to allow for sidewalks on both sides of the street. And again, there's a 50-foot tract width that actually comes into the parcel. So it's essentially to allow provision of sidewalks on both sides of the street and to accommodate 50-foot wide as a tract width to Cabin Road. Waiver 2, the widening of Cabin Road. It's a waiver to not require the widening of Cabin Road to 34 feet where the existing cartway is 27 feet. And we feel that's just an unnecessary expense and not warranted. Waiver 3, centerline radius of the road to allow 125 feet where no less than 150 feet is required. This is a very common, we should probably go back to the Exhibit 1 while we go through these. It's a very common waiver that you see with small cul-de-sacs. The 125-foot radius allows for full access by large vehicles. If it does anything, it serves as a traffic calming measure to keep people from going too fast on a cul-de-sac. 125 is a typical waiver for a small street like this. Waiver 4, side lot lines to be radial to right-of-way lines. Proposed lots 2 and 3 do not meet this requirement. If you look at lots 2 and 3, it's hard to see the lot line. There's one here and there's one here. But they're essentially regular-looking lots. Some ordinances require, so that lots aren't done completely irregular, that lot lines be radial or 90 degrees to the street. And a waiver, this is typical. The lots are regularly shaped and well-suited to development. So that's just a question of the geometry of the tract and the cul-de-sac, and the lots are relatively regular and look nice when you look at them. That's waiver 4. Waiver 5, to not provide sidewalk on both sides of the proposed street. We did work with the township engineer. We do have sidewalk on both sides of the street where the dwellings are, and then we have a crossing that's supported by the township engineer's office. You can see the sidewalk.
Stay on the mic, please, Vince.
You can see the sidewalk around the dwellings and the cul-de-sac, and then the crossing, and then the sidewalk extends out. That was, let's see, that was waiver 5. And again, when you look at waivers, they typically are requested to make the plan better. I heard a comment that why we have so many waivers. Some things are put in zoning that are more critical, and then things in the subdivision and land development ordinance, they're waivable if it makes the plan better, and that's why the waivers are requested. To permit a sidewalk, waiver 6, 5 feet in lieu of the required 6 feet. Consistent with ADA standards, and again, it's a typical waiver, just to provide enough room to have sidewalks on both sides with the street, and I believe that wasn't opposed by anyone for waiver 6. Waiver 7, 8-foot top of berm width as opposed to a 10-foot top of a berm width, and I think this was also, there was no exception to this waiver request. There's really no need to have the 10-foot width. It's just going to make the basin larger for no reason. Waiver 8 is the stormwater waiver, and again, this is the one that says about a drainage easement and a drainage release. Again, the reason we request this, first, it's unnecessary for the reasons I talked about. Second, it's impossible to obtain the easement. And for those 2 reasons, we request that waiver. Waiver 9. Waiver 9 is, again, a similar situation. That's the one where we're looking at the relief from getting the approval and from not increasing, decreasing, or relocating the stormwater. Again, as we discussed early on, first, it's unnecessary. Second, it's impossible to get the approval of the downstream adjoiner. And third, that ordinance requirement is conflicting with the storm requirement. One section says you have to decrease the flow. The other section says you're not allowed to decrease the flow. So that's why there's a waiver of that one. That's waiver 9. Waiver 10, to permit the planting of street trees within the proposed right-of-way. If you look at the plan, this is in this area. The right-of-way is 50 feet wide. If we can't plant trees in the right-of-way, then we can't plant trees at all because the site's only 50 foot wide. So that's what the waiver's for, and I think that was supported. That was waiver 10. Waiver 11, from the landscape architect, directed us to permit the planting of 118 replacement trees at 2.5-inch caliber in lieu of 196 trees at 1.5-inch caliber. Looking at the planting and the rendered exhibit behind me, you can see that it's going to look beautiful when it's finished. The landscape architect says it avoids overcrowding, supports long-term growth of the trees, even with an equal or greater canopy. So it'll be a better plan with the waiver than if we try to cram in 196 trees. And you've probably all seen situations where the trees are growing into each other and they need room to grow. That was waiver 11. So I think overall, again, just to summarize, I think it's going to be a great job. It's going to be beautiful. No detrimental impacts to anyone. And I think in terms of stormwater, it's going to help everyone's situation.
One last question. Other than the waivers in any of the township engineers and professional consultants' review letters, is there anything that's not a will comply?
That's a good question. We're completely 100% fine to comply with all the rest of the comments. The only reason we didn't comply with them, the last letter said that the plans still haven't been changed. We can comply with all of them. It's no problem being a condition of approval. It's just that we don't want to comply with them and do that extra work. If we don't get the waivers, then the site's essentially condemned.
So, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Fioravanti or myself?
I'll jump in. Brian, are you familiar with this?
Yes, I am.
Tell me why it was denied at the lower level.
We have had similar comments, if not identical comments, in most of, we've written, I believe it's 3 letters for the project. And as has been the focus tonight, the focus is on stormwater. One of the things that Mr. Fioravanti represented, I don't particularly agree with. He is representing that there's sheet flow leaving the site and that there's no swale. However, the original design tried to tell us that there was a swale on the off-site property that the basin was going to discharge into. So that's great, but you don't show it on the plan. You have to show it. If there's one there, you got to show it. The next set of plans came in revised with some different information, but certainly not clearly showing a swale. Next plans come in and it's sheet flow, back to sheet flow again. So my concern is, we did not see a swale. We went out there, we took pictures. It's a wooded site. It's fairly well vegetated. There's no specific swale. And that is a concern because it is difficult to return flows from a point discharge, which is what a pipe is, to sheet flow. You can put in mechanical structures, you can put in level spreaders and things like that to try to return flows to sheet flow. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's not ideal. But our concern is that we haven't seen something consistent yet to justify and support the proposed design. The other thing that I have concern about is the way Mr. Fioravanti represented working with us about the distance from the property line that the proposed end wall is. The ordinance requires end walls to be set back 50 feet from a property line. Their original plan, I believe the end wall was give or take 15 feet. They had to move it back. And there is a better opportunity to return flows to their normal condition the further back from the property line you get. But considering that it's only 60 feet, and it will be heavily vegetated, I'm not necessarily convinced that it's okay, in particular because, as Mr. Fioravanti represented, immediately coming out of the end wall, they're going to have to grade a swale. So it's still going to be concentrated, and it's not now. And that's a problem. We have dealt with this many times on projects in the township, and we are laser focused on it. We do not want to adversely impact adjacent properties. So the other thing regarding the discharge is that, as was represented, there's a 1% slope from the end wall to the property line. Well, you can't physically grade something at 1%. Maybe you can get it just right the first time, but that's not a steep enough slope to consistently allow that flow, especially considering the reductions that they're proposing. That, more than likely, that 60 feet will just kind of sit, and that becomes a potential problem for mosquitoes and such. That's also a common concern from residents when new projects go in. So my concerns were all expressed to the Planning Commission about these things. And as the presentation was happening, I was looking at my review, And some of the other things that I am concerned about that haven't been revised, and been addressed, rather, we referenced that we have concerns about times of concentration and the watershed areas as represented. The reality is that there's a very good likelihood that having a detention basin on a property where none exists, there will be a reduction in flow, for sure. But the conditions are changing. And we need to make sure, on behalf of the township, that the calculations are correct and we can support the design and recommend approval to you folks. The time of concentration, the drainage areas, if they're not right, then that does change the flows that get to the basin as well as the flows that will leave the basin. I'm not saying that they can't be fixed, but as presented, they're still not close enough, if you will. Another concern regarding drainage is that the ordinance requires that flag lots, runoff from flag lots must be managed. And for lots, near lots 1 and 2, lot 1 is specifically a flag lot. I don't believe that lot has any stormwater controls on it whatsoever.
Which one, Brian?
The one in the top right corner,
One?
yeah.
Okay.
Top left corner, I'm sorry. So, nothing controlling the runoff from that house. So, considering that one of the primary things that's been raised every single review has been runoff, it's just, we're not comfortable at all that things are that are getting done properly to put me in a position to recommend it.
Where do you guys live? The folks who came up and spoke in the beginning, where do you live?
My property runs along the back line of that.
Behind,
Mr. Fioravante did call me, but all they talked about was landscaping, nothing about water runoff. And when he talks about the water runoff, that's all gonna go into my woods. And my backyard's like a pond.
She's the
when it
adjacent
rains.
owner.
It's like a little creek that runs back into my woods. Sometimes
Yeah.
it creates new
Well, I don't
divots,
really like how-
like this wide and this deep. Now you're gonna add more runoff into my woods.
I just wanted to know, is your property behind lots 1, 2, and 6, or just portions of that, or what?
Yeah, 1, 2, and 6. Mine pretty much mirrors all the way down to, I'm sorry.
Tom.
My property runs on Cowpath, right behind this, all the way down to the backs of the houses on Cindy Lane.
Cindy Lane.
Scott, can you go back to one of the first pictures that you showed? Because I think it will.
Aaron has it.
There we go, this one.
Oh, yeah.
Erin has
See,
it.
right there, that's my property.
She is, has a lot of front way
Yeah.
against this.
And sir, I think someone in the back had spoke, the gentleman with the
Cindy.
hat? Where's your lot?
Mine is, in this picture below the star.
Okay. Was there somebody else who spoke? Yes, sir.
No.
Yeah, the kids. The gentleman in the grayish suede, you have a family.
Yeah,
one?
next one up. Yep, right there. Yep, 1872.
Got it.
Cindy Lane.
That's where the, I don't know what you call it.
You have a
the,
head wall
The drainage ditch, yep.
and a swale.
Yep, swell.
Thank you. I just wanted to get a sense of where your lots were.
In gen-
Given what we've heard, and then also our own engineer's explanation.
Yes, in general, the structure that this gentleman's talking about is where the flows from Ms. White's property basically collect, as well as the ones on the north side, I'll call it. They'll collect basically in his yard, in a swale that runs to, I believe it's an end wall. We were out there, I don't know if Aaron was on that trip or it was Scott or both, but when the township got hammered with those storms in June, we went out on probably, I was out on probably close to a dozen site visits with these guys. That was one of the properties that we looked at. So I see where the flows go. Yeah.
I have one more question for you. And I'm sorry, Vince, I didn't get your last name, so I'm just going to call you by your first name.
Fioravante.
I'm Irish.
Vince is
I'm
good.
going to stick with Vince. Waiver 2. You actually described that as an unnecessary expense. Walk me through that one, because honestly, I haven't heard many of our obligations, our code obligations, referred to as a necessary expense.
Widening.
Unnecessary expense.
Oh,
That was the waiver to widen Cabin Road, the 34-foot wide, along the property frontage. I guess would be from here to here. Now, we do have the radius coming in. I guess what we would be required to do then is come across here and widen this another 4 feet. Sometimes there are requirements, ordinance requirements that end up being a cost without benefit. So if we were to widen along our tract frontage across the street, an extra 4 feet from here to here, I don't know what that would accomplish.
So there's, but unless you tell me something that you hadn't said already, there's no, boundary restriction, or there's no physical restriction that stops you from complying with the code. Your argument is that waiver should be granted because it's you don't get you don't get the bang for the buck.
Well, not us, just anybody. It just doesn't, it's kind of like sometimes when people would have a requirement for, let's say, sidewalks in an area that no one wants people to be walking, or there's no sidewalks in an area. So it's not that you don't have anything against sidewalks, it's just that waivers are requested for sidewalks because there are no sidewalks anywhere. So it's kind of that kind of situation. If the road was widened down here and there was plans to widen the road and there were benefits to it, that would be fine. If the township wants this little piece widened, that's fine. It's just that there seems to be no reason for it. And that's what the waiver's requesting.
Brian?
Yeah, as far as the widening requirement and this particular property, it's interestingly enough, this is sort of similar to the next project on the agenda, but for this one, we discussed the widening at length between myself, Anton at Bowman, and staff. The reason we're fine with not providing widening is when the ordinance requires the widening on the project frontage. The way this property sits, it only has 50 feet of frontage. And within that 50 feet, they have the curb returns, and it turns in, you have the sidewalk. There's literally no other room to widen. So it's just something that it's, in our opinion, on the staff side, it's kind of a formality to request the waiver, just because it's a requirement to widen, except in this case, because of the configuration of the property, it only has 50 feet of frontage. And that 50 feet is going to be completely taken up by the curb returns and the new road. So there's literally nothing to widen. We've never told them that they had to widen something on the other side.
Understood.
The amount of traffic generated by these 5 new lots is not anything close to what would prompt myself or Anton to say, oh my God, you got to widen both sides. That's not how this is being applied.
Okay.
And we really have no issue with the waiver. I just think the way it's being presented is completely different from where we were coming from.
Understood. Okay.
So,
That's all I have.
Hello, I have a question. It seems your biggest stumbling block here is the easement from the neighbors, correct? If I'm understanding the presentation?
Yes, that's correct. I think Vince walked through it from a technical perspective and walked you through the ordinance section, but with all respect to neighbors and people's property rights and concerns, that does effectively delegate approval, potentially, or denial to an adjacent property owner. Because if you can't get that sign off, regardless of, I could definitely understand if it was an increase in stormwater, a significant change. I understand, our respective engineers don't necessarily agree completely, but it is definitively a decrease in stormwater. In that situation, that's why we're asking for the waiver. I mean, if this were a different situation, I could see a significant concern if it was an increase or some significant material change, but I think that's part of why the ordinances allow for waivers in something like this, where certainly there are details that have to be fleshed out and confirmed, and all the homework has to be shown, but functionally, you're absolutely correct. It's if we're not going to get if we're not going to get the easement or the sign off, I don't know that anybody would have use of this property to develop in a manner that would be able to successfully do so.
Aaron, can I ask you to put back up the picture that had the yellow star, please? And then expand that. The way I look at this piece of property that you want to develop is that you and Miss Eva sort of co-own the donut hole. All your neighbors surround you, and two neighbors seem to have jointly bought half of that center lane, center property there, and that you are proposing to change the way water is going to move off this piece of parcel. So understandably, every neighbor around is concerned. I've lived here 34 years. The only thing that concerns neighbors more than water is traffic. This is a big deal. And in the ordinance, and I'm going to ask my solicitor to comment here, but the ordinance that you're asking us to waive for you is something that has been in place longstanding, and has been effectively defended against as far back as 1999, because stormwater management is so critical to your neighbors. Can I ask just the solicitor to comment if I characterize that correctly?
Yeah, that is true. We have found this particular ordinance section to be in place and enforced as far back as 1999. We don't have many instances where we have a development without the ability to discharge into a public right-of-way or an existing drainage inlet in a public street. It's an unusual situation, so it's not something that comes up often. I don't know, and I'm hearing more than just that from the township engineer as far as the stormwater issues and having the ability to satisfy what you are proposing on the property, the drainage, the 1% slope. There's a lot that needs to go on before the water even hits the property line. But to your point, it is a provision that has been in place and enforced for quite some time. We don't run into it often, Nate, to be honest, but it's there.
It just seems that the ordinance sections that we're talking about, that can't be complied with without violating another ordinance section. We're fine with complying with reducing the rate to peak flows. We do meet that. It's just that you can't reduce the flow and be required not to reduce the flow. So it's impossible to comply with both of them.
Well, I think the intent of the code is that you're changing the amount of water and the way the water gets to the adjacent property. So you're changing the biology of what goes on and the environment of the neighboring property by increasing or decreasing. So that's why they want a sign off from the neighbor saying, then I'm okay with what you're doing and how it affects my property. Decrease is positive in some regard, but maybe not, in certain situations. So that's why I think the intent is that the neighbor acknowledges and understands and then signs off on it. That's the intent behind it.
I do understand the intent to protect the neighbors. We're all about it. I mean, that's why all the regulations are crafted and why all the government agencies exist. Our peak flows will be decreased, as I showed you. It'll be 1 inch deep, 1 foot per second. In terms of 1% slope, we could alter the slope. We could have a meeting, if we were to be granted the waivers, we're saying that we'll comply with all the township's technical requirements. We'll meet with the township engineer. We'll go through every single coefficient and every assumption, make sure they're all on the same page. What I used to call a coefficient meeting, that every single assumption we'll agree with, and we'll run the model and we'll be finished with it. And we'll agree to do that. We're agreeing to comply with every technical stormwater comment the township engineer has. We're way below the peak flows. When we adjust all the time of concentrations, we're stating that we will comply with everything or we don't move forward. Just a question that we need the waivers because we're not going to be able to get downstream adjoiners to okay it, and you can't decrease the flows and keep them the same at the same time. So it's just a question of requesting the waivers. We'll comply with all the technical issues, and then we can move forward, and there will be no impact adverse to anyone surrounding this.
Take this the way that it's intended. It sounds to me like you actually have quite a bit of work that you could still do with our engineer. Right now, what you're asking us is to grant you this with the along with the waivers, so that you could then do the work with the engineer and kind of level it all off.
Well, as a condition of the approval.
Understood. I'm sitting here and I'm not an engineer, but I've been doing this long enough to have a sense of how this could work and how these things shake out. this is a suggestion, just an idea that I'm putting out to you guys, I'm also putting it out to my co-commissioners, is that you consider saying, you know what? Let us continue to work with the engineer and continue to work through, I think Brian had said that he's got a number of other items that still are really outstanding. And you bring it back to us and say, okay, we've gone through top to bottom, all the different issues, taking into continued consideration the residents that not only spoke here, but the other ones that live nearby. And then you come back to us and you say, you know what? We've gone through everything that your engineer said, other than the waivers or any other items you want to bring to our attention. And you try and level set this as best as possible before you bring it to us for a decision. That's my suggestion, and that would be my kind of idea that I put out to my co-commissioners.
I agree. If we can not vote next week, but continue the discussion with Brian and Nate and Vince. Yeah, anybody else? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yes? Sure. Can you go to the mic, please? Sorry. Oh, we have a mic here, too. We have a mic here.
Okay, based on what you're saying, again, I'm not an engineer, but I read all through everything. The bottom line, you're saying you're going to decrease the flow, right? But you're saying that you're going to put 5 houses in, but the overflow as it flows is going to go 60 feet, and it's all going to go to my property. Now, you're saying, is it going to be a decrease?
Yes.
Or am I going to have more water come? So 0 houses now, but you're going to put 5 houses in, but there's not going to be more water coming on your property.
Right, exactly. So with 0 houses, you get, let's use the numbers we have, you get 11 cubic feet per second during a 100-year storm. There's no stormwater on that site right now. The stormwater hits the ground, flows to that swale that goes down the middle of your property and goes under the street. There's no control at all. When we develop the property, the houses that we build and the cul-de-sac and the houses behind us on Cabin Road, they're all going to be captured by the stormwater basin. All that runoff, instead of going to your property, is going to get captured by the basin and released very slowly.
Well, then why do I need to give you an easement?
You don't.
To tell me that you can let the flow come
I don't think an easement's necessary at all. The flow's going to be less. It's going to be spread out. It's going to be slow. It won't be erosive. I don't think there's an easement. There's no maintenance required. I think you'll be totally protected. That's one of the waivers that we're requesting.
Mr. Vince, might I further suggest that you sit down with Eva and explain this perhaps in a less technical way, because what you're saying here, if I'm going to summarize, is you would improve
Absolutely.
the water conditions, and she's not convinced that you
Right.
will, and neither are the neighbors around. So in addition to working with Brian, in alignment with our existing ordinances, which exist to protect neighbors in just situations like this, that you also
And honestly,
go back to the table and try to educate these neighbors as to the improvements that you are portraying with us
and
here.
Absolutely. And we're all about protecting the neighbors and the environment as well. It'll be a decrease. It'll be completely safe. I don't think an easement's necessary. There'll be no maintenance. It's going into a wooded area, lower flow. I'll try to meet with Eva again. She didn't want to meet with me last time. But I have no feelings anyway, so it doesn't matter.
So we did speak with Mr. Buick, who's the representative who's paying us to be here and telling us what to do. He would like to take the opportunity, if that's a formal motion, to table. I didn't assume you were taking action tonight because this is a work session, but if there is the opportunity to do that, we'd like to take you up on that. We do thank you for hearing us out and hearing our explanation, and thank you, Ms. White, for interacting with us. And we would like to take the chance to see if we can reset this and reduce the level of concern and hopefully come up with something that works for everyone. And Eugene, are you that agreeable to you to try to resolve that? Absolutely. All right. So, and thank you for the
We appreciate
suggestion.
that. Thank you for your
I just one
presentation.
comment.
Yes, sorry.
You're suggesting a swale in a wooded area won't need to be maintained? Trees fall, branches...
We're not proposing a swale in the wooded area. If we could have, Chris, if we can have a next exhibit.
Well, let me go back more specifically. You said there's no maintenance required.
Not on Eva's property.
And not on your property either?
I know on our property, the stormwater system, everything has to be maintained. So we'll have an association that'll maintain everything.
Got it.
The storm sewers, the basin, the discharge, there'll be 60 feet of like an open swale area where the discharge will leave the basin on our property. That'll definitely be maintained.
Okay.
But nothing for Eva that we don't need an easement and maintenance on her property.
Got it, thank you.
Okay.
One last quick question. Is the homeowner of the existing house, does he plan to stay and reside in that house? Or is this looking to sell the property?
I think it's looking to sell.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we
Hi,
have,
my name is David Zahn. I live on 1240 Cabin Road. My property is right at the end of that entranceway. And I just want to say that the Hatfield Township have done a very good job of creating and drafting the ordinance and the codes for development. And I can only imagine that is done for the behalf of the people, the permanent residents that live there, for their safety, well-being, and harmonious existence there to live with the quality of life that they expect in Hatfield Township. So I appreciate that. And having said that, if we're to entertain and pass all the variances that come up, I would give it a very heavy, I'm sure you guys are giving very thoughtful consideration before we sign off on every variant, because if we do, then we'll have to redo the code so that we don't put the developers through this rigmarole every time they want to develop a new property. So there's something there. But also, I'm thankful you mentioned, I don't know your name, but you mentioned traffic. That lot is now vacant. It used to be occupied by two brothers, and the amount of traffic that just with that house of that generator was a lot. So I can only imagine 5 more houses, and you can't say, we can't predict how it's going to be, but you can't say one car per house. There's probably going to be families, multiple cars going in and out of there. And once they're out in the cabin road, that's might as well be 40-foot road, right? They just zoom in and they might slow down in the cul-de-sac because there's a curve there. But once they're out, we've seen a lot of disruption with just one family there. And just please carefully consider. And the developers said that without these variances and permission from the homeowners, that land can be developed. I'm just throwing this out there. Was there any consideration of making, I know in the very beginning, a lot of people are concerned about the animals, the deer, fox, and so forth. And I'm not saying they're more important than people and needing places to live, but anybody consider that would be a perfect place for like small park, maybe donated by the owner of the property, and say in memory of Jeff and Dave, the 2 sons that passed. That would be kind of cool, but just throwing it out there, you know? Yeah, and you can have a little walking path that would be great for the residents, but there's no money in it for developers, obviously. And how would you maintain and support that? Just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
I don't want to make this lengthy, but I was concerned about,
Can we
my
have-
name is Ida Zahn,
Thank you.
1240 Cabin Road, across from the opening. Our frontage is probably about 15, 25 feet, not very much frontage. So on one side, and I remember at the previous meetings, one of your planning individuals was very upset about the fact that that's so narrow and the school buses will not be able to get down there, nor fire trucks. That was a big issue. On the other hand, I'd be glad that you don't do a variance because I have maybe 20 feet until I'm to the street now. So I expect that you're going to widen the street and I'm going to have, 15 feet to the road? I have no setback. So there's a lot to consider there. Also, I want to remind people that haven't been at the previous meetings, they're building on the aquifer. And if you look back at the old aquifer maps, it comes straight down Orville Road, right across to our property, and right down across Cabin Road, my property and my neighbor's property. Neighbors on both sides had problems with water in their basement. The house that was demolished and another one built, they had trouble parking right next to me. One had to go far into the back, almost in the next neighborhood. And when she had her house next to me, she always had water in her basement. So there is extreme issue with water here. This is part of Neshaminy Creek, and you're trying to put houses there. I just want to warn you about that, and the safety issue. They were talking about not allowing parking within the cul-de-sac because of fire trucks and emergency vehicles. Well, how is our police department going to go down there and police that cul-de-sac? I know friends that live in a cul-de-sac. I park when they have parties in the cul-de-sac. It's a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question or comment? Okay.
Thank you very much for hearing us. I think this was productive, and thank you for the opportunity to present. We appreciate your time.
Yep. Thank you.
So Jen, continuing on planning and zoning, we have another
thank you.
discussion for 2748 Cowpath Road. There are some similar issues. This one was not denied by the Planning Commission, am I correct?
That is correct.
But a number of similar waivers, not the
Can we
easement waivers.
just hold on? I'm just going to wait till some people are getting out. That's okay. Take your time. Sorry.
I do like the donation. Let's see if we can make that happen.
Make that a
the
part of
donation.
the donation.
That'd be great.
That would.
Eva was like, oh, I have mine.
Yeah, I did do that.
Yeah.
She's down.
Let's do it.
Okay. Sorry about that.
So Scott, I'm going to pitch over to you to tee it up, and then we'll let the applicant do their presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner DeLassio. This is Michelin LLC, 2748 Cabin Road, zoned RA1 residential, 5.24 acre parcels. This has 12 lots on it, 10 of which have proposed single-family dwellings, 2 open space parcels, which total 0.69 acres. Stormwater management system on site, and 12 waivers are being requested. I'll turn it over to Bob Jordan and Mr. Clement.
You got it. So thank you very much. That was a very succinct introduction to what we have going on here. Many of you may know this property. It's the old Biblical Theological Seminary dormitory property. It's had kind of an interesting history up to this point until about 3 years ago when our company bought it. In full disclosure, Michelin is Michael Clement and Len Del Grippo. Michael Clement is my father. I have a small interest in this company as well. So in any event, this property was bought from BTS by Advanced Living. Advanced Living had proposed to convert the dormitory, which was roughly 27 or 30 units, into some affordable housing. That plan was actually approved. It had zoning approval. I was the one who obtained the approvals on behalf of Advanced Living. Advanced Living changed gears a little bit. They decided to go in a different direction. At that point in time, Advanced Living agreed to sell the property to Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity came in with a completely different project, not to redevelop the dormitory building, but to provide some multifamily housing on the property, roughly 24 units in twins and townhomes. That property met some stiff resistance from neighbors. There were a lot of concerns. After a rather protracted process, it ended up not going forward. So at that point in time, we decided to purchase the property. We engaged Advanced Living about 3 years ago, went through a zoning approval process, obtained a number of variances, dimensional in nature, to be able to construct 10 dwelling unit single-family homes on lots very similar in size to what is behind this property already. In going through that process, we also were made very aware of the fact that there are some existing stormwater issues out at this site, not related to this property, off-site problems. Nevertheless, we worked with the township in an effort to try and resolve those issues. So we are asking for a number of waivers. There's about 10 or 12 waivers in total. About half of them are related to stormwater facilities, and another probably 3 or 4 of them are related to trying to decrease the amount of impervious cover so we can maximize the amount of stormwater capacity that we can use to help treat the off-site issues that we have been asked to help the township with. Some of the waivers also relate to the fact that the stormwater facility is really close to the township park, actually bleeds over onto it because it's a combined system to, again, capture some of the stormwater that's not ours. And again, there's a few waivers that relate to some plantings and also just the existing condition of Cowpath Road. So I'll go through each of those individually, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Jordan if you have any questions, because he's way better at this stuff than I am. So the first waiver we have is with respect to 242-12K. That's with respect to dewatering of the basin. Typically, you have to have dewater basins within 72 hours. Ours is going to be slightly longer than that. Again, we're trying to capture more stormwater than we're required to do, and as a result, our dewatering may take a little bit longer. Section 242-18B8N is with respect to the slopes of the basins. Again, we have limited space on this property, so we're trying to tighten up the basin a little bit, and in doing so, we have to increase the slope of the basin to allow for, again, maximum capacity in that basin. Section 242-18BDD requires that the invert inlet of the pipe be 6 inches above the floor of the basin. We're proposing to put the invert inlet pipe at the floor of the basin, again, to accommodate the existing stormwater conditions. Section 242-18B8I, we're asking that no freeboard be required between the 100-year storm and the elevation of the surface water. And again, that's the emergency spillway elevation. Usually there's a 1-foot elevation required. We're asking that to be eliminated again so we can capture as much stormwater as possible. Section 242-19A4 does not allow regrading within 5 feet of a property line. Again, this basin is right up against the township's property, and as a result, we're asking for a waiver from that condition as well. Section 259 requires that we go through a preliminary and then a final land development approval process. It's been pretty common practice in the past in this township to be able to do both at the same time, particularly when you've been able to address a number of the issues that are outstanding with the township's engineers and consultants. Section 250-29B1 requires us to widen Cowpath Road to a 20-foot half width. Cowpath Road right now is an existing 16-foot half width. To use the technical legal term, it would be really wonky to have that jog in the road if we were to widen Cowpath Road, and could create an adverse traffic condition. So again, we're asking to keep the existing condition. What we are proposing to do with respect to Cowpath Road is increase the size of the existing sidewalk out there. Right now it's 4 feet wide. We're asking to be able to have a slight waiver from section 250-31 to allow for a 5-foot wide sidewalk, though, instead of a 6-foot wide sidewalk. Going back to section 250-29B1 with respect to our cul-de-sac, normally the cul-de-sac would have to be 34 feet wide with a 50-foot right-of-way. We're asking to reduce that down to 30 feet. Again, it helps to reduce the amount of impervious cover on the site and allow for more stormwater capacity in our basin to treat the off-site condition. We would reduce the parking on one, or restrict rather, the parking on one side of the street so that there would be the free flow of traffic and no issues with respect to being able to get up and down the street. We are asking for a waiver from section 250-38E with respect to replacement trees. We simply just don't have the room to put all of the replacement trees on the site, and as a result, we're asking to pay a fee in lieu of those required trees. Section 250-39B1 requires that lots be 12,500 square feet minimum. One of our lots, lot 2, is slightly smaller than that. It's actually 11,000 square feet and change. That's because there's an easement that will go over that property. If you included the easement area, we would be compliant, but that's not included under your subdivision and land development ordinance. And then finally, I believe there is one other waiver with respect to the placement of trees at particular intervals being 40 to 50 feet. That was section 250-38B. We have driveways, we have utilities, so we're asking just we be able to place the street trees at variable intervals as opposed to those restrictive 40 to 50 foot intervals. The last one is with respect to open space. We are providing open space. It's not active recreation open space. To the extent that we're not providing adequate open space on the site for recreation, we're willing to pay a fee in lieu of that. That would be a partial waiver, I believe, from section 250.42E2A. So that's everything that we're asking for. Again, most of it related to the stormwater facility, so we can help to be a benefit to the community in terms of treating existing conditions that aren't ours. But we're asking for reapproval at this time. Happy to answer any questions.
Question? You just said fee in lieu of open space. If you had one less house, would you meet the open space requirement?
No, we wouldn't. Basically, we do have open space that was agreed upon at the zoning hearing board. On the western side of the property is that 35-foot strip that's hatched out. That open space leads to the Township Park open space. That open space is also preserving an existing swale that runs between the two parcels. And we've added some additional buffering that was required also as a condition of the zoning hearing approval.
Would a swale be a functional open space? So truthfully, I have a swell on my property myself, and you know, there are times where you can't walk or use that space because it's acting as essentially a pipe and a water discharge. So I'm just asking about the 35-foot. If it's also doing double duty as a swell, is it truly open space?
We believe it meets the definition of open space. It does do double duty, protects the area around the swale as well.
Can I ask about the freeboard waiver? Because I note that our engineer in his review letter indicated to you that he cannot support that waiver request. So maybe could you take us through that one more time?
Sure.
Because I believe I put a note here that you said with your proposed change or that waiver, you would capture more water. And I'm not completely understanding, and I wondered if you'd walk us through that one more time.
Sure. Basically, with the new NPDES requirements, they are requiring a change in methodology. Originally, the basins were designed using the DeKalb method or the rational method. The SES method more or less takes more volume of stormwater and puts it in the basin. When you route the basin using the SCS method, that elevation changes slightly, but if you route it using the DeKalb method, we meet the requirements of the freeboard, as I discussed with Brian. Really, it's a play on semantics because basically we're trying to meet the NPDES requirements as well as meeting the township requirements, depending on the methodology. Your ordinance permits the use of the rational method for small watersheds under 25 acres, and that's what we used to design the system.
Sidewalks on both sides or just one side?
Sidewalks are on both sides, correct. And they're 5-foot sidewalks.
Brian?
Yeah, I just wanted to latch on to the freeboard thing. In fairness to Mr. Jordan, we did talk about this, right?
Yes.
And I believe we talked about it after the review letter was written?
Yes.
Okay. And in fairness to Commissioner DeLassio, I did not remember that conversation took place. Mr. Jordan is 100% correct. The conservation district requires a certain method that is not really appropriate for such small sites. The other methods that he referred to are much more appropriate for small watersheds. And it is true that when you run the two of them, you get fairly dramatically different runoff volumes and rates. And I apologize to you particularly and to Bob because he's right. I've done work with these guys for years. I trust their work. And you may have even sent me an email showing me the difference, or you're going to provide it, right?
I did send you an email,
You did,
correct.
okay. So they can, the reality is something that was submitted after the letter was issued, they can meet the freeboard requirements. Which really ultimately for me is what we are looking for. And it's because of the methodology. It's not somebody waving a wand and it's suddenly okay. So the report that was submitted and reviewed was based on the method that they need to provide to the Conservation District. But when we had the conversation, and frankly, for years, I've been trying to get the engineers to use the appropriate method for smaller watersheds. 99% of the time, no problem. But now, because the Conservation District is basically insisting on their way, it puts us in a difficult position. We then have to get the engineers to kind of do almost two sets of calculations. But we will have appropriate freeboard provided.
Correct.
So that waiver, effectively, are you then not going to need the waiver?
That waiver was removed from our request.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian.
There, yep. Just to set the record straight, because the previous presentation, I didn't agree with a lot of what was presented, but I've worked with Bob for a while, and we've had very good back and forth, and he's provided supporting information to justify what he's done.
Last quick question. This will be managed by a homeowners association. Do you have are you going to recommend a frequency of going into the basin to maintain it? I mean, it's likely going to be naturalized or a detention basin, but there would be some period of time where you may need to go into the basin to maintain it. Or are you going to make a suggestion on how the frequency of that?
Yes, that's all covered by the mandates by the Conservation District and DEP. It has yearly, bi-yearly maintenance for structural components. It has more or less components for naturalized basins that have to be maintained on a weekly basis during the summer months, grass cutting, de-weeding, and stuff like that. So to answer your question, yes, a homeowners association will be established to maintain the basin areas that we have shown on the plan, including that portion that's on the Township Park side.
I can add to that, if you don't mind. They have an MPDES permit, and part of that permit requires a PCSM declaration where that permit plan is attached to a declaration that our office files against the property. So all those requirements that he just spoke of are recorded against the property.
Thank you.
Yep.
My question is leading into the increased slope. So, flatter slope, higher, tighter slope, the confidence of being able to get machinery or equipment down in over that slope to maintain the basin to those requirements.
Yeah, we do have an access point at the top of the basin that's shown. It's graded a little bit flatter, but a 3-to-1 slope is basically 3 feet horizontal for 1 foot vertical. It's a manageable slope. So when we talk about slopes, from 4-to-1 to 3-to-1, it's only the embankment portion. The bottom of the basin is completely flat. So there are no problems with maintaining the bottom of the basin and the biofiltration area. It's just that the side slopes get a little bit steeper, so we can add additional volume to help out with the township needs.
Thank you. No further questions. Thank you, fellow commissioners, for letting me.
Will this cul-de-sac support a bus turnaround, or is it?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
Would be not available? Yes, it will. We're going to provide a truck turning template that was requested in Brian's review letter as well as the traffic engineer's review letter, so we will provide that.
So it'll provide, will parking be allowed on the cul-de-sac?
No, no parking.
No parking at all?
There's no parking required along the entire, I'll call it the north side of the plant and around the cul-de-sac.
But
There are signages.
The no parking restrictions are on one side and in the cul-de-sac bulb, correct? And that was it was generated by some of the turning templates that you did provide.
Correct.
Right, in response to, at a minimum, fire marshal's concerns.
Exactly.
So there will be limited parking available, but the signs have been spaced out relative to meet turning needs of larger vehicles.
These are single-family dwellings?
Single family.
Anticipate to have how many cars? 2 cars in each driveway?
Pretty much 2 cars is what's required by ordinance, correct?
What overflows available on the street? Because it doesn't look like many parking spots on the street. If you're only allowed to park on one side.
You would be parking in between the driveways on the house side.
Okay.
So there would be more or less parking associated in the frontage of the lot.
And that meets our requirements, Brian, from a development perspective?
Yeah, single-family houses aren't required to provide overflow.
Or not?
They're just not. No.
We also have garages associated with each of them, so we have 2 cars.
So the garages count technically.
Let me jump in for a second. Frank, you raised a concern about this, and I jotted down a note that said 11-12, variations, and I didn't get what else you said, or waivers, and I said variations, sorry. What was your concern?
Do you want to come to the mic so we can, thank you.
Yeah, primary concern is water.
Okay.
And again, some good information here tonight. I appreciate everybody's comments. But again, water's the primary concern. I know a lot of my neighbors on Denby Drive have expressed that concern. Unfortunately, none of them are here tonight to help state their views. To that degree, I believe the previous presentation spoke of a town hall meeting, and I don't know if one has occurred with respect to this, but if it hasn't, I'm wondering if the commissioners would entertain that thought and speak to the other homeowners that may be adversely affected.
Good question. Brian, you were looking to get.
Yeah, I just wanted to offer something regarding the runoff. I can't say anything about the town halls, but the open space strip on the left-hand side of the property, that was established specifically as a result of the developer and their engineer coordinating with our office and basically through Aaron, because of concerns of some of the residents in that area that abut the property. The runoff that comes off of Fairgrounds Road goes down, that part of the property is one of the areas where it appears to concentrate. So in a coordinated effort with the engineer, that area, Bob, that's 30 feet?
35, I think it is.
Okay, wide. And it's going to stay as is to allow for that water to flow freely down to the creek. If that had been lotted out, then that would be the backyards for those residents. And most of us know that in people's backyards, you wind up with sheds and pools and stuff. So the natural flow from the bottom part of the property, I'll call it, towards the top to the stream, that could potentially have been completely choked up in a couple of years because of people wanting to use the yards. So the developer consciously worked with us to set aside that 35 feet in order to allow for that drainage to have an unobstructed path down to the creek. I think that was helpful, and this is relative to that gentleman's concerns about runoff. And it was mentioned that the basin is being expanded slightly in order to take the runoff from the properties or currently where all those notes are, collect it on the site, and then get it into the basin. Something that is different with this project from most is that most designs will take any off-site flows and literally pipe them around or through the site so they don't have to manage the runoff. They are not legally required to manage the off-site runoff. And with the current standards from DEP, though that management really, it really blows up the size of the basin that you need to have. So while I'm not going to put anybody up for sainthood, I will say that these guys heard the township, they're aware of the concerns about runoff in the area, and by collecting some of the runoff from off-site that they wouldn't otherwise be required to manage, they're doing that, increasing the size of the basin in an effort to try to reduce the flows that get to that culvert going underneath Cowpath.
Guys, you know where Denby Drive is?
Yes.
Yep. Gentleman sitting in the back there, Frank Stumpo, who's a longstanding resident. He lives on Denby. He's obviously said that not only him, but it sounds like other neighbors have concerns. I'm assuming you would not have a problem with organizing a voluntary get-together to sit with neighbors and field questions if they had any?
We can do that after the fact, after approvals, of course. We also had the zoning hearings that we went through. The neighbors were present at those zoning hearings and the planning commission. So we've had ample opportunity for the neighbors to engage with us. And again, that's one of the reasons we have that strip in the back as well. We engaged neighbors even as early as the advanced living days when we came through and did town hall meetings for that project as well. So we've been engaged from the beginning.
I'll leave for the president to make, to see if there's a consensus on whether you get to a next meeting and whether there's a vote. But I'm assuming even between then, if you are put onto our next agenda, which is 2 weeks from now, you guys would make yourselves available.
Absolutely.
Informally or possibly, phone call, email, or otherwise to Mr. Stumpo and other people from Denby, correct?
Happy to get his information now.
Can I just jump in
Yeah,
quickly?
go ahead.
Frank, where do you live on Denby? Because we have met with most of the neighbors throughout this process.
I live actually down around the corner. One of my neighbors who had concerns today with the property here asked me if I would attend the meeting. Sure.
Okay. So we have, and Brian was there with their engineer, with all the adjacent property owners several times throughout, but doesn't mean they shouldn't do it again. I just want to make sure the board is aware of the history of the project and the different iterations that were in front of the neighbors and the outreach that was involved
Okay.
for years.
Okay, thank you. We can discuss it late this week. Okay. Does that sound good?
And Joe, we can pass along your contact information to any of the neighbors if they would like to talk to you guys out in the field and have any follow-up questions?
Absolutely.
Sure.
We're not going anywhere. This is our project.
Thank you, gentlemen. No question.
Do we have a consensus to move to the next item?
Next agenda.
Next agenda item?
No,
I'm sorry.
Somebody had a question.
I'm sorry. Okay. Do we have any objection? I'm sorry. Go
there's a
ahead.
comment.
And then I'll ask.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
The sidewalk on the north side there, where the stormwater management is, who's responsible for maintaining that and snow removal?
Homeowners Association. Yes. Yes. Ooh. Sorry.
Just for the commissioners, you're talking about parking requirements. There's a bill in the House right now that would not allow the townships to have minimum parking requirements, so just so you're aware of that.
Really?
Thank you.
I'm not touching that one.
He's a former commissioner,
Yeah.
and he knows.
Yeah.
Do we have a consensus from the commissioners to move this item, number 2, 2748 Cow Path, to the next meeting?
Yep. So,
Yep.
Yes? Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. We're going to go to number 3 under Planning and Zoning Committee, turn 14, 30, 35, Campus Drive, 18-month maintenance period. Do I send it to Brian?
Sure.
Is that okay?
This has been on the agenda a couple of times, and it's my understanding that the applicant did in fact finally get the financing to the township. Basically, this is extremely simple. The project's complete. We are certifying it as complete, and as such, we're recommending that the board accept it as complete and move it into the 18-month maintenance period. And there's a resolution, I believe, Kristen? Or there will be a resolution on the next agenda.
Next meeting.
Okay,
Sorry.
for the next
Yeah, I
meeting.
jumped the gun, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've talked about this so many times, I keep thinking we're done. We will be done at the next meeting.
Okay.
Someday.
That's it.
All right. Any questions for number 3? Okay. I'm just going to move to number 4, the number 9, volunteer board appointments. We're going to do that, and then we'll go back to our committee reports. So for our volunteer board appointments, we have Civil Service Commission appointments, 6-year term, Laura Thomas and Jack Hoy. Do I have a motion to approve Laura and Jack to the Civil Service Commission?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Ziffel, Commissioner Delacio, the motion and the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it has passed. Congratulations, Laura and Jack. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, and for Environmental Advisory Committee, it's a 3-year term, and that is for Bob Lanuette. Do I have a motion to approve Bob Lanuette?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Carla. Delacio as a first motion, and Commissioner Ziffel. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, thank you. Bob Lanuette, you have made it. I don't know if he's here.
Yeah, Bob's over there.
Oh, there.
They should
There he
get
is.
2 terms for waiting 2 hours for that Board of Appointment.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. We're going to jump back up again to Public Works Committee. Commissioner Ziffel.
Okay, not too much to report, I don't think, and Aaron, I might steal your thunder here. Essentially, staff is working on getting the bids ready for this year's road paving program, along with materials for the aquatic center, such as chlorine and propane. The preliminary list for the roads, and this is preliminary at this point, include the following roads: Stewart, Brentwood, Claremont, Concord, Pelham, Holly, Richard, Clemens, and parking lots at the Township Building, the entrance to the Aquatic Center, Nature Area, Public Works Facility, and trails at the Arboretum, and a small portion of the Chestnut Street Trail behind the Township Building. Again, this is just a tentative list at this point. Aaron's going to have more details and illustrations of these locations, which means a slideshow of some sort, next month after the bids are opened and ready for the board to consider. With that, Aaron, is there anything else under Public Works? If so, ball's in your court.
That's all. Yeah, so we'll talk more about it next month. That's the tentative list. A lot of good roads and projects planned for the year. We want to make sure that we can afford it, so we'll see how the bids go, and then I'll come back here in March for the board to consider approval, and we'll go over it a little more deeply as far as where these roads are and where are the lots and all the other items Commissioners have mentioned.
Slideshow, right?
At least 14,
Absolutely.
without question.
Looking forward to it. Okay, so for the Parks and Rec Committee, I'm just going to go through some of our fitness classes coming up. Our winter fitness classes are still going on. Zumba Sundays, 9 a.m. Winter session is walk-in option available. And then our spring session will be March 22nd to May 3rd, and no class on April 5th. Our remix for the winter is actually full, but our spring session, March 23rd to May 4th, and no class on April 6th. For yoga, surprisingly again, full in the winter. Spring session is also full, but you can visit our website for mini sessions. And then all classes take place here at the Township Administration Building. Our spring bus trip, that's going on with Upper Gwinnett Township. We still have a few spaces left, and that is the bus trip to Washington, D.C. to see the Cherry Blossom Festival, and that will be Thursday, April 2nd. We leave 7:15 a.m. from Upper Gwinnett Township, and we would get back on the bus 6:30 p.m., and it's $75 per ticket. All meals are on your own, and all excursions are on your own. Then we have a state planning seminar that's coming up Tuesday, March 24th, and that's estate planning and wills. That will be 6 p.m., March 24th, and that's here at the Township Building. You can look for details on our township website, hatfield.org. Some events that are coming up, if you want to put this in your calendars, we have Stretch into Spring pop-up event, and that will be Wednesday, March 4th. Our commissioners may miss some of it, but that's okay because we have an event that night. We will have family yoga, 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Family slime time, you can make slime. That's 7:15 to 8:15 p.m. And bring your entire family. There'll also be yoga and yoga instructor Beth, and you can enjoy some stretching and movement. We also are partnering with the Science Explorers for the hour of stretchy, slimy fun. My son is going to that, he said. For Earth Day, our annual Earth Day event is scheduled for Saturday, April 18th, and 2 collection sites will operate from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. The Public Works Complex is where it will be, and then Clean Earth will be there. We will also host several cleanup sites through Hatfield Township, so if you are interested in that, you can email Ashley Brody at abrody, BABROUDY at hatfield.org, and there'll be more details coming up. So that concludes my report, and I will call on Vice President Partha.
Thank you. I see one is a purchase for police vehicle. Is this on the same?
I can jump on that one if you want to do the report first.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you, Chief, for making this report. In January 2026, the Hatfield Police Department remained focused on public safety, proactive enforcement, and community engagement while continuing to deliver measurable results across all operation areas. Hatfield Police Department responded to a total of 2,885 calls of services, reflecting the ongoing demand for police services within the township. Overall, crime level remained low and stable, of total 6 Part 1 crimes, showing no change from January 2025, and 26 Part 2 crimes represent a 10% decrease compared to the prior year. Traffic safety and efforts continue to yield positive outcomes. The department recorded a 6% reduction in total vehicle crashes compared to January 2025. Of total of 66 crashes reported, which is 36% were reportable crash. Proactive enforcement remained a priority as officers conduct 349 traffic stop and 298 selective enforcement details, resulting in about 263 warning and 118 summons issued. In response to community concerns, a targeted jailbreak enforcement details was conducted on January 23rd, demonstrating responsiveness to resident feedback and quality of life concern. Community engagement remain a cornerstone of departmental operation. Officers completed 909 community engagement activities, making a 10% increase compared to January 2025. This effort were further supported through participation in key community and school-based initiatives, including the Oak Park Elementary School evacuation drill and Safe School PAL meetings, reinforce the department's commitment to school safety, preparedness, and collaborative partnerships. Overall, for January 2026, the department is maintaining low rates as of now, reducing traffic crashes, responding to community concerns, and increasing meaningful engagement with residents and the stakeholders, all while continuing to deliver professional, proactive, and responsive police services. And thank you, thank you all the officers to leading this. Thank you. And I think we have one purchase of police vehicle.
Sure. Thanks, Vice President Bartha. Just a housekeeping item. We do have a capital purchase that will be in front of the board at the regular meeting for consideration. The purchase of the vehicle was budgeted. It was discussed during the budget process. Just a note, this is the first electric vehicle that'll be entering the fleet of the police department. It's for a Ford Lightning, so it's a pickup truck. We have an electric charging station in the new police station. We also have solar panels that are helping generate and reduce some of our costs to operate the facility. So some nice initiatives that we look forward to incorporating into our department, and we'll have that again on the agenda at the regular meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, for our Finance Committee report, today was an audit, our annual audit, and so that report will come to us in the spring, and then we can look at that. But everything else is going well with the Finance Committee, and thank you, Township Manager Bebro. We're going to go down to you.
All right. Thanks, President Lestracco. Just a few items. It's a long meeting tonight, so I'll be brief. A few reminders for our next meeting. We are in this room at 6:30 for our regular meeting, and then we have the continuance of the conditional use hearing for Pulte at 7 o'clock in the room, which we believe is still happening. If we hear otherwise, we'll let everyone know, but that is the schedule at this point. Just a few noteworthy items for the 6:30. We will be visited by Judge Levine, our district judge, who is going to give a state of the judiciary for us. We also will have Carmina Taylor and several students from North Penn High School to give us a performance, as they have in the past. So we're looking forward to seeing some of them. I know a lot of the previous students were seniors and graduated or in college now, so we'll meet some of the younger ones coming our way from the high school. So we look forward to those. Just a quick recap of the Code Department for 2025. We get our annual report from Our department director, Don Delamater, one of our busier but quieter departments in that we don't talk about them much in this room. But all those projects that we heard earlier tonight and before that, after approved from the commissioners, they then have to go and be built. And when that happens, this department gets going. Just a quick overview, the department has Don Delamater, our zoning officer. We have a third-party building code official, which is Keystone Municipal Services. Team members in the department are the fire marshal, code enforcement officer, and we have 3 full-time admin employees who help process all of those permits. For 2025, that department issued over 1,600 permits, which is a little down from the last 2 years, and a lot of that is because our largest residential community has been built. The Del Webb, which is 325 homes on 40-foot, has finished earlier this past year. So permits are down most likely because of that and a few other projects. But still, a very busy department, a lot of hard work, a lot of employees that one permit doesn't necessarily mean that's all the work that's associated with it. It's back and forth, it's submitting, it's questioning, it's talking, it's meeting. It's a lot of work that goes into that, and we appreciate the work that they do. In addition, that team inspects over 2,000 apartments annually. When doing those inspections, they've seen that about 28% of the times there was some type of violation that was corrected from a life safety standpoint. So maybe a smoke detector wasn't installed correctly, or other items like that, which are corrected and creates a safer living space. So Dean doesn't have to climb in too many more windows for all the fires, and he's dodging me back there. But we have noticed throughout the years, and the fire marshal has data that as these inspections have gone annually and throughout the years, there are less calls for certain emergencies throughout our town. So there are important inspections that are done yearly in apartments, every 2 years in businesses. Also, this department assisted with Dean at Hatfield Fire as well as Calmer Fire Station with over 900 responses in 2025. So a busy community and a lot of good teamwork to accomplish a lot of those goals. So just a quick overview of the code department. We appreciate the work they do quietly and efficiently. In our department, they don't get a lot of attention in this room, so it's good to highlight the work that they do once in a while. So grateful for them and the report, and that is all I have for tonight, Mrs. President.
All right, thank you. Great report. Okay, we're all good, getting to the end, but we have our solicitor's report.
Okay. We do not often, and I can't remember in the last 13, 14 years, ever asking to oppose an application that's going to the zoning hearing board. Our zoning hearing board is a very able body to handle things that come before them, but this one is 2415 North Broad Street, which is a request for a special exception and a variance relative to the use of the property. Our fire marshal has concerns, our code enforcement has concerns. This property was converted. There's a single-family house on the property. They converted it without permits, the house into 2 units and a detached garage into 2 units with no permits, no inspections. There's a safety issue concern. The application is kind of a mess. It says that all the units are in the house. They don't mention the garage, and then it goes from 3 units in the house to 4 units in the house. And I have a memo from the fire marshal detailing his concerns about this, and I believe that it's occupied. So we're asking that our office represent the township at the hearing, bring the fire marshal with us, make a presentation, let it be known to the zoning hearing board that the township opposes this application.
Okay. Do I have a motion to authorize the solicitor's office to oppose the application on behalf of Hatfield Township?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Commissioner Andrus with the motion, and second by Vice President Partha. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And we'll go to number 2.
Okay, this is an appeal. 2610 Diamond Street appeared in front of the zoning hearing board asking for permission to sell firewood. If you've been by the property, there is a very active amount of firewood on this property in a very residential area. The zoning hearing board denied their request to sell the firewood, and the homeowner has appealed to the Court of Common Pleas. Our office usually intervenes in any appeals, especially because the zoning hearing board loses standing beyond the Court of Common Pleas. They cannot go to the Commonwealth Court if there's an appeal further than the Court of Common Pleas. So my request is that we intervene in support of the zoning hearing board's decision.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Ziffel, second by Commissioner Andrus. Do I have approval from the board? Please signify with saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you,
Motion
Commissioners.
passed. Thank you. Okay, we have citizens' comments. If you would like to make a comment, please come to the mic and state your name and where you live.
Dean Minninger, President of Hatfield Fire Company. I'm just giving you an update for this year already. You see, the month of January, we did 57 calls. This month, we're at 35.
35 already.
35 as of yesterday.
Are they
We didn't go
fire-
out today yet, and today's not over yet for another couple hours.
Are they fires or accidents?
You name it, it varies. You know, everybody, all the municipalities around here now go with the dual response on any kind of working structure fire. It goes either 4 engines, 2 ladders, and then a RIT team. So, you know, we're getting mutual aid. They're coming here, we're going there. You know, the townships are hurting. I mean, all these townships are hurting for personnel. So it's just something to really think about. All these developments in here, it's just more time. It's more housing. I get it, but, you know, you're depleting the volunteers. You know, we're trying to do our best to stay volunteer as long as we can. But everybody here ought to start thinking about paid somewhere down the road.
Yeah, it's
It's
been
getting harder and harder every year.
Yeah, it's been a conversation for a long time now, right? And maybe it's time to revisit it.
Yeah, I mean, you're burning guys out already. I mean, we're at 92 calls and we're not even 3 months in. So,
yeah.
Just a heads up. I mean, I'll give a report in a month of, you know, how many calls we're running, but it's getting crazy.
Thank
We've
you.
never seen 92 calls in what, 4 or 5 weeks. It's nuts.
Okay.
Can I have just one comment?
Yes,
Open-
please.
I'm sorry?
Yes, go ahead.
An effort for transparency, there's a meeting next Tuesday, the 17th of February, where solicitors will be interviewed in a closed meeting starting at 4:30 p.m.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments? Okay, seeing none, I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Delacio, second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Zippel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned.